Isha, you can go right ahead.
Thank you, Margaret, for the introduction. Thank you to the attendees for being here. Can you see my screen?
Yes, you're good to go.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, so good morning, everybody. I'm just gonna give you a little brief overview about some of the things that Margaret mentioned already, and then I'm gonna talk into some other things into leadership. But I call this a hindcast of an unpredicted track between science and the arts, because that's kind of like what my life has been in the past 15 years or so. To give you a little background, I grew up in the Caribbean, born and raised in Ponce, Puerto Rico. Ponce is the second largest city located towards the southwest coast. The image that you're seeing is the historic firehouse in my hometown, built in 1883. And if you thought that because I grew up in the Caribbean, hurricanes was what got me into meteorology, you thought right. That's what got me into meteorology. And many of you have a very similar story of that significant weather event that marked you and got you into this field. It was Hurricane Hugo, the storm that made landfall and left that big impression in me. It made landfall in the northeast coast of the main island of Puerto Rico, and it did little damage to my hometown. However, its satellite image in the TV news left me so impressed that it turned on the curiosity switch in my brain. That and the images of the damage it caused in the northeast towns. From that moment on, I wanted to learn more about these systems. Lots of questions formed in my head. What caused them? Why did they form? The years passed, and I continued to follow these tropical waves, storms, hurricanes, using the map that will come in the newspaper, using the National Hurricane Center's information that was being shared by the broadcaster. I was in the path of being a scientist, but I didn't know. And as these systems kept approaching, I kept seeing these experts being interviewed on the TV, and I wanted to be one of them someday. In 1998, I was already in high school. Hurricane Georges makes landfall in Puerto Rico as a Category 3 hurricane. It crossed the main island from east to west, and at this time, there was a lot of damage in my hometown. I was in high school, yeah, and this even reinforced the interest into this field. You know, I'm starting to think about college and what am I going to do. But what happens? There were no meteorology degrees in Puerto Rico at the time. I didn't know what to do. Actually, I started college as a psychology major, but quickly realized that that was not for me. I changed my major to mathematics because I was good in math, but I had no idea that I was doing the right move to do meteorology. In terms of my undergraduate experiences, I went to the University of Puerto Rico, Mayagüez. I joined a research group under the mechanical engineering department that was studying weather and climate using different models. Through this group, I traveled to my first conference, I networked, I learned about grad school, I learned about internship programs. I applied and actually got admitted into the NOAA Educational Partnership Program undergraduate scholarship. My first summer, I was at the NOAA's Environmental Modeling Center. This is the team, the 2003 students with the NOAA administrator. The next year, I completed my undergraduate degree in mathematics. And this is a picture of the mathematics and computer science class department of 2004 graduation. Then during my second internship with the Educational Partnership Program, I interned at the Hurricane Research Division of NOAA in Miami, Florida, to study the systems that actually got me into this field, hurricanes. And this is a picture of me inside one of the NOAA P-3 aircraft as they were doing some calibration of the instruments. I attended Howard University to complete my grad studies in atmospheric sciences. And while there, I returned to the Hurricane Research Division to complete my master's thesis. I also interned at the Baltimore, Washington Weather Forecast Office of the National Weather Service to study a tornado that occurred in Maryland using the DC Lightning Mapping Array. And one cool experience that I got while I was in grad school was be part of the 2007 Aerosols and Ocean Science Expedition, or AROS, on board of the NOAA ship Ronald H. Brown for 30 days, where I studied Saharan dust throughout the tropical Atlantic. I finished my master's degree, and so this is a picture with my mom and my grandma at Howard University graduation. And 1 year and 7 months pregnant later with my first child, I interned at the National Science Foundation. So that's kind of like giving you an overview of my career path. While pregnant, then having a baby, and then while working full time, having to drive 1.5 hours to take classes, commuting 1 hour to work, and I attempted my PhD at the University of Maryland. I didn't finish it, not because I was not good enough, but because I needed to prioritize my health and my family time. My first official job was as a research meteorologist with the Naval Surface Warfare Center in Virginia, doing research on boundary layer and radar refraction on Navy ships. 4 years into this job, I founded the nonprofit organization Semilla Cultural, which I'm going to talk about it a little bit more later. And after 5 years, after being 5 years in the Navy, I then transferred and joined the National Weather Service, Baltimore, Washington, as a forecaster. Do you understand how big that move was for me? You know, when I was in Puerto Rico, I always heard about National Weather Service. I was like getting into my dream job. Different location, but still my dream job. Radio sounds forecasting, briefing to partners, interviews, never-ending learning, amazing coworkers. While there, I did a temporary rotation at National Weather Service Headquarters, Office of Organizational Excellence, where I was a partner engagement lead. I returned to the forecast office after the rotation, but after a while, I noticed that I was craving for change and new challenges. I started to look for positions at NOAA headquarters and landed my current position at the NOAA Office of Oceanic and Atmospheric Research, where I am the lead for NOAA Science Council and the programs under it. And also I'm supporting the NOAA Acting Chief Scientist. Between all this, I have continued to take training to keep developing skills, volunteering at different organizations like AMS, different boards and committees within it. Shout out to the CHALA, the Committee for Hispanic and Latinx Advancement. And I'm only my mid-career, so I still have a long way to go, but I'm very, very honored to be here. And all this may sound very nice and peachy, but there were many items and things that I was not mentally prepared. Many of these mainly under the social, emotional, or cultural groups. The first one of them was being English my second language. I never felt so conscious about having an accent until I moved to Washington, D.C. I was mocked by some. I have been underestimated by others that because they hear me speaking Spanish in public spaces, they assume I don't speak English. Another thing is often being the only woman or the only Latina scientist in the workplace. This really didn't intimidate me, but sometimes I needed that female partner in crime, like when I was pregnant or when I wanted to talk about motherhood and working, lactation. Sometimes even people underestimated me when I answered the phone at the forecast office if I could really answer their questions because they didn't think I was smart enough, either for my accent or because I was a woman. Another thing that I was in work-life balance issues. I have the privilege of being the mom of two beautiful girls. They're 12 and 5 years old. I had my first one while I was at my Navy job and the second one while I was a forecaster at the forecast office. But imagine how hard it is to try to balance working those rotating shifts with commuting over an hour, spending time with family, running the nonprofit, participating in these activities, having a social life, or just trying to rest and have some me time. Also, the self-doubt. When I started looking for jobs, when I went from research to forecasting, and even in my nonprofit, I questioned myself so often, constantly. Am I good enough? Do I deserve to be here? And it's a battle in my brain that never stops. Being in a new place, new language, new culture, that first years after I moved, even the simplest things like not finding the seasoning for the food that I like, not listening to the music that I like to on the radio, not finding it. Access to the beach, I could just drive 50 minutes and be in a nice beach. So those little things really, it was a shock. Obviously not speaking Spanish all the time. But also it's important for all of us to realize that our unique experiences will give you unique perspectives. And through this, you will realize things that are missing. Those gaps that maybe your work workplace is not using, or maybe that you are missing, that are in your personal life. Why isn't this workplace using this this item that I know about? And that's very valuable. So what have I done to solve this? For having an accent, I see it as a strength because that means that I speak more than one language, and that's a superpower. By often being the only woman or Latina in the room, I understand the importance of my point of view and educating others. In terms of the work-life balance, it's just finding that support system that will be there for me, not only my spouse, but also friends. I didn't have family nearby at the time, now I do, but there were times that it was really hard, especially working rotating shifts, finding a good babysitter and all that kind of stuff. In terms of lots of self-doubt, it's just battle that saboteur in my head every time it appears, just battle it back, not let it stay in my brain. Moving to a different place in your culture, basically what I have done is try to enrich my community by sharing my culture. And whenever I realized that there were professional gaps or personal gaps, I created spaces that didn't exist before to try to fill those gaps. So I move away from home physically, but my heart is always in Puerto Rico. I always look forward to returning home. After living in Washington, D.C. for 3 years, I joined a group of dedicated to Puerto Rican bomba. And with this, my life changed. Bomba is a traditional art from Puerto Rico. It's a genre that includes dance and music. Its history dates back to the 17th century, and it continues alive today as a form of cultural expression, socio-political protest, and resistance. Bomba is percussion-driven, consisting of drums, they're called bombas or barriles, 2 sticks called the cuas, and a maraca. In bomba, the dancer moves to the rhythm, but the main drummer has to follow these movements and has to play them in the drum simultaneously as they're happening. These are called piquetes. And this is a beautiful connection that exists in bomba between the dancer and the drummer. Practicing bomba gave me a sense of belonging in the local community. It actually allowed me and many others to get the Puerto Rican experience in the DC metropolitan area. It gave me a space to meet other local Puerto Ricans and other Latinos in the community. It also gave us a way to represent the Latino community and what it could bring to the culture, to the local culture. And for others that don't experience it or don't know about it, to learn from it. And this is on the social and personal levels. However, when I moved 50 miles south of Washington, D.C., I could not attend rehearsals as often as I was, and I was missing that space that fulfilled me so much. I also thought about the many Boricuas like me that left Puerto Rico and felt that same gap, that same, so that got filled by practicing bomba. And that is when I founded Semilla Cultural. Semilla Cultural translates to cultural seed. It is a nonprofit organization that dedicates to bomba. The tricky thing about this is that it started from zero. It wasn't me to build it up from bylaws to mission, strategic plan, make it work. Right now, actually this month, we're celebrating 8 years strong with an amazing team that some are in this picture. And if it wasn't for my team, definitely this would not exist today. Through Semilla Cultural, I developed my skills even further. I am not talking exactly as a dancer, but as a leader. I was involved in administration, the pedagogic part of it, finances, project management, personal management, coordination, marketing, negotiation, community outreach and building, partnering, among many, many others. All this was very, very risky and a challenge. Without even noticing, and even without intending to, I was stepping into leadership as the executive director of this organization, but I wasn't doing it. I was filling a gap. I was making space for something that was needed, but was non-existent in the local community where I was living now. And with all these experiences between my work, National Weather Service, my meteorology career, and this, I discovered my purpose. Both being the executive director of Semilla Cultural and a meteorologist have the common purpose to serve and to make the lives of others better. So as you develop into your career and get new experiences, you will understand your calling, your purpose, and what really fills your soul. And don't be surprised if those evolve a little as your priorities start changing with your experiences. You will grow and even be willing to take risks and create spaces like I did. Those risks and initiatives make you stand out. And I'm not saying go start a nonprofit, but because that will not work for everyone. But there are many, many ways to be a leader. There's not one straight path to leadership. Many of you are already amazing leaders. Some of you know it and don't even realize it. You don't need the title for it, and you don't need to supervise others to be a leader. Leaders understand their goals, they have a vision, they take risks, they encourage and motivate others, they foster new ideas, they accomplish goals. Sometimes it means to even challenge the rules. They also understand that they did not get there by themselves, that there was a support group, mentors, colleagues that help you on the way. So let me share with you a few things to consider that have helped me throughout my career so far. So first of all, follow your dreams, but keep your feet on the ground. Remember those that help you, those that extended their hand, from your close ones to your family, to the teachers, professors, mentors, that saw that sparkle in you and helped you to pave your way. Be sure to remember them and be sure to thank them. They will appreciate it. Work hard, challenge yourself often. Start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. When something makes you uncomfortable, it's because you are moving out of your comfort zone and you're challenging yourself. So yeah, start getting comfortable with that. Also, consider all the experiences and be open to unexpected opportunities. Those experiences that are good, the ones that are challenging, that are not so cool, and those even outside of your professional career, they all define your character and develop your skills. And those skills are transferable among different fields. Do not let your environment dictate what you think you can achieve. We have to make sure that we're surrounded by the right people. Are they lifting you up? Think about that. Your support system is very important, and we have to be objective in evaluating who we're surrounded by to make sure that we are surrounded by the right people. Speak up, educate, and create spaces. When you see injustice, speak up, but also to bring new ideas to fix the status quo. Whenever you go, try to leave something better to those that are coming behind you. Self-doubt will never go away. I've gone to that conclusion, but it's how long I let it stay in my brain. So I just battle it back. Don't let it stay there for a long time. Be yourself, stay true to you, but also take care of yourself. Sometimes we care so much about what others think that we do things to make others happy. But sometimes we also care so much about others overall that we forget about our own selves. So we need to take care of ourselves and be true to ourselves. Find your purpose. For some, it may not be obvious at this moment, but you'll realize sooner or later, and remember that it will evolve a little bit as your priorities change with time. Take care of people along the way. Lift as you climb. You are never too young to make a significant impact to help those that are coming behind you. And lastly, enjoy the journey. This is a journey, and it'll have many, many unexpected tracks. So the conference theme is Securing the Future, Guiding Tomorrow's Leaders in the Weather, Water, and Climate Enterprise. And when I was asked what would I like the future on the enterprise to look like, I didn't think in terms of technology, but I thought more about emotional intelligence. I would like to see leaders and members of this community that understand the value and impact of diversity as a strength and a way to enrich each other by having a broader range of skills and ideas and a diverse set of experiences and perspectives that are empathetic, that also serve the community, that understands the feeling and perspective of others, that understand that there are communities that are not well served and could use more resources, especially to prepare for extreme weather events and climate change. I would like to see leaders and members that aren't afraid to be vulnerable and show it, that are open to new ideas and do not settle for what is currently there, that are able to understand when a system is broken and could use some adjustment. I would like to see leaders and members that are good communicators, but are also great listeners, that serve the current communities, but can also prepare for future generations and their needs, that are dreamers, but are also doers. In the end, I would like to see people like you, those of you attending this conference. Before I finish, I want to share with you a quote that I repeat to myself often because that's how I feel that my life has reflected. En español, in Spanish, it says, cuando las cosas se hacen de corazón, las bendiciones llegan solas. When you do things out of your heart, blessings will flow your way. I think that's what has driven me from the beginning of my career, just doing some things out of a desire and a passion that I felt, but make sure that we always got to thank those behind us and leave a better way for those behind. Thank those that help us pave the way and pave a way for those behind us. And with that, I finish. Thank you so much for having me. This is my social media handle on Twitter and Instagram, and my email if you need to contact me. So thank you so much. I'll stop sharing if I can figure out how to do it. There you go.